Welcome to the Candle Business Coach Podcast, a show about the craft of candle making and small business. I'm your host, Kirsty Allen, and I'm a candle maker, mum of three, and kindness advocator. Join me as I dive into all things candles and small business and deliver advice and tips to you in episodes every Tuesday and Friday. Are you on the list to get my daily motivation emails? Every day I'll send you a message that is designed to help keep you focused on taking action toward your goals. Sign up using the link in the show notes. This episode is brought to you by the membership for candle makers, the Candle Makers Collective. Becoming a member gives you access to fortnightly online group Q&A coaching sessions to support you, monthly online workshops and trainings to help you grow your business, plus frequent expert guest speakers to inspire and teach you. You'll also have access to an ever-growing resource library with templates, guides, planners, and ebooks. But my favorite aspect of the membership is our exclusive Facebook group for accountability, connection and support. So if you're looking to take your candle business to the next level and learn more about the membership for candle makers, click the link in the show notes for the Candle Makers Collective. Welcome back to the podcast, my friend. Today we have the beautiful Ellen from Grounded Marketing on the call with us, or on the podcast with us, to chat to us about paid ads and paid advertising, both in social media and on Google. And I know that this has been a topic that's been wanting to be on the podcast for a little while. So I'm so excited and so grateful for Ellen to be here today. So Ellen, do you want to say hello to listeners and introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, Kirsty. Thank you so much for having me. Very excited to talk about this. I'm Ellen, as Kirsty said, from Grounded Marketing. I'm a paid advertising specialist. Help with Facebook, Google ads, usually done for you style of thing. Working, through ad management for clients and, working on all different platforms, doing all different types of things, service, product-based. So very exciting.
Love it. Now, do you want to share your story that you actually messaged me yesterday on Instagram about how you got started with advertising? And marketing.
Yeah, it was so funny. So I originally was living in Toowoomba, which is like regional Queensland for people that don't know. It's only 2 hours from Brisbane. I live in Brisbane now, but at the time I was studying remotely with a uni in Melbourne, had graduated and was thinking like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Like, what am I going to find now? There's no jobs really in Toowoomba. It's a big enough, town, but I was thinking, I'm going to have to move to Brisbane and find a job there. So anyway, in my little interim of looking for things, I started a candle business, which is just so funny I was only thinking yesterday, it's really gone like full circle. But started a little candle business. I just kind of wanted something to put like on my portfolio. And I just had like this huge obsession with candles and was buying way too many as a uni student that was broke. I did not have the money to constantly be buying candles. So started a little business, built a website, did the social media, that kind of thing. And then, it ended up being one of the things that helped me land my first marketing gig, which was in paid ads. And that's how I fell into it. But they just said, oh, we really love your effort and that you've built a business and that kind of thing. So, it's so funny that it's come full circle.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. And it's so interesting that our journeys to get to where we are can always be so fascinating when we look back and we can connect the dots and see how it's actually all come together. So I love that it's a full circle moment for us.
Absolutely.
So that's basically the story about how you got started with your first job. But then where did that passion for marketing and paid advertising as a role come into it for you? Like, where did it all begin?
Yeah. So I, as I said, had kind of limited, I guess, opportunities to get into marketing. So I was looking around at different roles and just thought, and this is back in 2018, looking at different things and what was around as a graduate. And obviously as a grad, there's not a lot. And one of the dream roles, was being a paid ads specialist. And I had a look at that. And at uni, you don't learn a lot about that. I did one subject that was social media marketing, and that was it. And there was no mention of ads or anything. And I ended up being the little country girl going to the library and finding a book that had one page on paid ads. And I thought, okay, well, that's given me some insight into what this dream role would be about. I guess I I'll just go for it. I ended up not applying for it for, I think, about a week. I was just had so much doubt, and then ended up going for it. Anyway, went through the big process, ended up saying, yep, I can move to Brisbane next week. That's no worries. And then that's how I started as a paid ads specialist with no paid ads experience. So
I love that
just
story.
a lot of determination. But yeah, fell into it. In 18 months, had, award nominations for Google All Stars Search, Specialist of the Year, and with SEMrush, which is another like industry body. It was just a really quick dive into agency life and a huge learning opportunity. And I just found that I fell in love with it. I really love the data side of things and the analytics, but it's also a bit creative too. So it ended up being a really good fit, but it was pure luck, really.
Fantastic. And you've now branched out into your own business as well called Grounded Marketing. Did you want to share a little bit about that with us?
Yeah. So essentially, the process there, I'd moved from working in agency to working in-house, which just means I was working for brands individually. And then, ended up mainly from agency life, getting really burnt out. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of hours. We'd work till midnight some nights and things like that. So I was just burnt out, ended up leaving marketing for a year just to go away and think about it. But I always had this drive to have my own business, as I'm sure many of the listeners also, did with starting their candle businesses. Yeah. And so I had a bit of a break and then thought, maybe the ads thing's it's not it anymore. Ended up studying naturopathy, or starting that to be a naturopath. And then, started, working with practitioners a bit and that kind of thing. But I realized that ads is what I know and what I wanted to dive into, and that maybe I did really love it. It just was the fact that I needed a break. So then, I've gone back into it, started freelancing, and now I've opened up the agency, which is at the moment just me, but doing hands-on ad management for a variety of clients, a lot in like the health and wellness kind of space.
Incredible. And I love that something that you're so passionate about can bring direct results to your clients in such a tangible way. You can then be, you can hold their hand through the process or guide them through it, and then they get the results that they're looking for, and you're a pivotal part in that. It must bring you so much joy and satisfaction to be a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really exciting. A lot of people also come in with the opinion of, oh, well, I tried ads before and it didn't work, or I've never tried it and I'm really nervous about it. It's a decent investment, even if you're just spending on ads themselves and you don't have a manager. So it's nice to be able to overcome those sorts of fears with them, and for them to see the results and go, oh, it actually does work. This is exciting. I'm growing my business and getting more leads or more sales. So it's nice to be a part of that.
Yes. And I can imagine that there'd be an education side of it as well, in terms of, it takes a while for, say, Facebook, for example, to gather the data to be able to give you the results that you're after. It's not just boost a post on Instagram for $5 and then suddenly, all these customers come in. It's much more, I'll say complicated, but it's more intricate than that. There's a lot of, what's that word? Like a lot of technology, and there's a lot of data behind it that needs to be incorporated into your business so that the algorithms can work out, who to serve your ads to then hopefully get you the result that you're after.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so true. I think, letting that learning period run its course is such an important thing. Ads aren't a quick fix. I always say they're an amplifier of your current results. So what you're currently doing organically, you're just essentially getting more eyeballs on your business, but they're not a save-all strategy, unfortunately. Otherwise, we would all be doing it and all getting huge returns from the outset. But it's definitely a really strategic thing. The strategy is so key to the success of ads.
And that can be overwhelming for someone that's perhaps just starting to dabble in ads, whether that's on Google or Instagram or Facebook or different methods. It can be quite overwhelming. There's a lot of different ways that you can approach ads. There's a lot of different tactics and strategy, as you say. So, you could have a look into it and go, wow, this is too much. I can't do this myself. But then on the other hand, you think, well, I don't have a budget to be able to hire someone. So you can find yourself caught in between, a rock and a hard place. But if you're wanting to take your business seriously, if you're wanting to get serious results, you need to either do a course or join a membership and learn how to do ads or hire a professional. And I think when you start to take your business seriously and you see what other big businesses are doing and what other small businesses are doing, you realize this is how to get, a slice of the pie, to put my stake in the ground and go, this is actually how I find more people for my business and to generate more sales and more leads.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so interesting with organic reach at the moment. It's great to have that organic side of promoting your business. And when I say organic, I just mean unpaid on Facebook and Instagram and that kind of thing. The average rate of organic reach at the moment is like 5 to 10%. So say if you have 100 followers, that's 5 or 10 people seeing your posts. Typically, reels are a little bit better, but for stories and posts, that's kind of it. So yeah, I always say ads aren't necessarily like for everyone, at that time. It really depends on where you're at in your business and the opportunity that you have to invest in that kind of thing. But absolutely, if you want to grow to the next level and really propel your exposure, then yeah, putting the backing in the right way behind ads is a really good idea.
Absolutely. So to make it a bit more specific to the listeners, why do you think candle business owners should consider paid ads?
Yeah, I think really the primary, reason behind ads is that brand awareness and reach. Ads are going to get more eyes on your business, but, and I was talking about this morning, I think it's a really interesting point that they're not solely responsible for your sales and the success of your business. So ads can bring in, those eyeballs, they can bring in those leads, that kind of thing, depending on, the business that you're in and what you're promoting. Like say for a candle business, you might even have, some kind of lead magnet or something like that to bring people in. So it depends what you're focusing on. Usually I'm assuming it would be sales. But it really comes down to your website and your checkout process and how you nurture your customers after and the experience that they get when they get your product and all that kind of thing that determines like your success with them. So I think also the other benefit is getting in front of the right people. So it's more people and more exposure, but organically you don't have that ability to specifically target people, unfortunately. The algorithms are pretty good in terms of serving your content to the right people, but with ads you can get so specific about who you want to get in front of. Mm-hmm. And there's so much opportunity for product-based businesses. Like so much of what we're doing now is online. So many of our purchases are online. That's not to be said that offline isn't worthwhile. It 100% isn't. For the sake of candles, you can smell, touch and feel those products. That's so beneficial. But I think if you can find a way to bring that kind of experience online as well and make it really seamless, especially once people have tried your product, to then easily get it ongoing, that's such a benefit. And, remarketing is one of the things you can do to do that with ads. So there's a lot of potential by bringing things online.
Yeah. And as you say, like you can remarket or retarget customers that have already purchased with you so that you can increase that customer loyalty, so that you're not always having to find new customers for your business. You're building up that customer base of people that know, like, and trust you and your products and your brand, and then bringing in new people using ads or using organic marketing or a combination of both.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we find something good, we just usually want to stick with it in terms of products. You don't want to constantly go through the research and the testing of finding something again. So yeah, it's so beneficial for that. And people that already know and love your products, it's going to be an easy sell, right? So the investment's going to be well spent.
Absolutely. So being a paid ads specialist, you'd obviously have I'm assuming some opinions and thoughts on which of the different ads to start with and perhaps which ones will grow. So when it comes to, say, Facebook, Instagram or Google, what would you recommend the small candle business owners start with?
I think one of the things that us marketers love to say is it depends. So that's a very common, term that we'll use. But the way I like to think of it is like a funnel. So if you think of the shape of a funnel, you've got top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel as a simplistic way of looking at it. I'll preface this with this isn't the only way, to structure your ads or to run your ads or anything like that. But in the sake of trying to keep it simplistic, I like to think of it like that. And I think, using social media ads. So say like Facebook, Instagram, I'll refer to it as Meta throughout as well, seeing as they've gone through that rebrand. I like to think of those as being more top of funnel. Like it's really awareness based. It's your biggest, potential market. And the benefit with those ads is that you're interrupting people whilst they're scrolling. So they're not actively looking for your product, but that doesn't mean that they're not interested, that they're not going to buy. They're just not actively searching for it. And, maybe people haven't thought about the fact that their candle's running out. They haven't thought about buying it online. So being there and getting in front of them for that like brand awareness and reach is really beneficial. With Google, I think it's a great like tool or platform for being in a user's like consideration set. Or, if a user's like researching products, that kind of thing, they're evaluating their options, it's a really good place to be whilst they're searching and researching what they want to buy. And also for, bottom of funnel. So bottom of funnel, like they're the closest to converting, they're the most likely to purchase. You can also get that with retargeting. But I think, Google's really beneficial for that kind of thing because they are actively searching for your product. So they're more interested, they're more likely to buy. Whereas Facebook and Instagram, it's more top of funnel. And it's also really visual, whereas Google isn't so much.
That's interesting, thinking about the differences between, say, Meta's ads and Google ads and where that falls into the funnel as well. And these terms that we talk about may be new to you if you haven't delved into marketing and funnels and all that sort of thing. So if you do have any questions, please reach out and we're happy to clarify. Are there any prerequisites before a business starts investing in ads? Say someone's got, $200 to spend on ads. Is there something or anything that they should do before they put their money into advertising?
Yeah, so this isn't always necessary, but what I would say for smaller businesses with like limited budgets is that you want things to be working well for you already before you go and amplify them. So like I said before, it's an amplifier of your current results. So ads won't polish something that's not working. So I would say that you want things to be converting well or selling organically. So if your website, is up and running, you've got products selling online, they're converting quite well for the amount of people that are visiting your website. That used to be around, say, 2%, but obviously it varies depending on, how those people are getting to your website. But if people are visiting your website and they're actively buying and you want to scale that, then I think that's a really good place to start. I think if you're starting a business from scratch and going for ads straight away, you don't really know what's working well yet. And like I said, it's only going to give you like more clicks and more reach, but it's down to your website really converting those people into purchases that's going to have like that impact for you. I'd also say that you need to get really clear on what your goals are, what your intention is for the ads, and your numbers as well. So many people don't know their numbers and they go, I've just got, I've got this budget to put into ads and that's it. But is that your test and learn budget? Like, are you happy to spend that and just see what works with it potentially not working? Is that your break-even budget? What happens if you get a 5 times return on that budget? Is it, are you likely to keep putting more money into it and reinvesting if it's working? So I think really understanding like your numbers and your goals, your intention for the ad. If your goal is more revenue, well, how much revenue do you want to make? That kind of thing. And just making sure that if you're DIYing, you've got enough time for it as well. Like you do need to spend some time managing your ads. When you're starting out and you're letting the learning phase run, it's not going to be, that long. You're probably not running that many ads. But I'd say like whilst you're learning, at least allocate a couple of hours a week to just optimizing your ads and making sure things are working.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, it's not about hoping that, you've got your website. If you haven't optimized the website and then you put in ads to it, you're not suddenly going to get all these sales just because you're doing ads.
No, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Wouldn't that be nice?
So would, definitely.
Is there an ideal daily spend or budget if someone has got limited funds and they want to start doing ads on a daily basis?
Yeah, so I would say I generally calculate by month, but obviously you can just divide that by 30.4. What I usually recommend, and a lot of other agencies I've seen, recommend similar amounts, is starting with like $500 a month is ideal. But I know that just is way out of scope for some businesses. It seems like a lot of money, which, it can be, especially when you're starting out and you don't know what works. Mm-hmm. So I would say that's, a great place to be. And that's why I'm saying make sure things are working well first before you go and amplify them, because, then you're more likely to get a return and that kind of thing and have more money to put into that. But you can lower that amount with more like focused strategies. So like we said before, if you're remarketing to past purchases, like maybe people generally go through their candle after 30 days. So maybe after 30 days, you remarket to those past purchases. You can just use like a list of clients and then, push them an ad that gets them to like get a refill, get a replacement candle, something like that. Otherwise, you could also remarket to the people that have abandoned checkout. So they've gone through the process on your website, they've got really close to converting, but then they've left and decided, oh no, maybe I'll wait for later. You can also retarget them. If you're doing retargeting, you want to make sure that your frequency of your ads on Meta specifically is low. And you can just get a little metric column in Meta when you're running ads and have a look at that and see what the number is. But that essentially means that for whatever date range you've chosen, that person's seen the ad X amount of times. So obviously, if you're putting a decent amount of budget into it and you're just retargeting and that person's seen that ad 10 times in 2 days, then it's too much. So, you can kind of look at those sorts of metrics and different strategies to not have to put so much into your ads.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's so important to know that, yes, there are lots of different metrics and there's different strategies that you can apply and there's different things that you can look at, but it's so hard, but try not to be overwhelmed by it. It's a learning experience, not only for you, but for the data to come into your profile as well.
Totally. Yeah. There's so much that you can do with it, and it's hard not to, I guess, overcomplicate it. So apologies to anyone if it seems really overwhelming. It doesn't have to be. It's just, giving you options, I guess, in terms of what you can do. And depending on your budget, depending on how many products you want to push, that kind of thing.
And depending on what your goals are as well.
Totally. Yeah. Goals are so important and so often not thought about. So many people will hire agencies and come in and just say, oh, we just want more sales, without a clear idea of what that means. So really tangible goals is so important.
Do you think that many people have achievable goals or more unrealistic, or they don't know what their goals are? They're just not specific enough?
I would say a lot are not specific, just come in not knowing. And that's okay. Like agencies can definitely help you to determine what those are. Some can be unrealistic, but I think I always like to say that your own results, like if you've run ads before, your own results are your best benchmark. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have results yet, then you can look at industry averages, but that's definitely the best place to start. You can Google these things and have a look at industry averages. You could ask in Facebook groups and see whether other people are open to sharing what their kind of results are. But sometimes they can definitely be unrealistic, but just having clarity on, what your best performing products are, how much revenue you want to make, what your profit is on your products, that kind of thing, you can really piece together like some good goals from there, but you need to be clear on what you want out of them. Otherwise, a strategy can't really be developed.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't measure the success of a goal if you don't actually have a goal to begin with.
Totally.
Yeah. When you start your candle business, there are so many things to consider and research along the way, especially when it comes to choosing the right suppliers. Long Story Short provides all your design and printing needs, from your logo and branding to designing and printing your product labels. The quality is exceptional, the customer service is amazing, and prices are very reasonable. They're the only label company I recommend, so check out their website or send them an email today to get started. hello@longstoryshortdesign.com.au. How do you approach creating a strategy, an advertising strategy for product-based businesses?
Yeah, so I always develop these based on goals and numbers. So just to be a record, goals and numbers most important thing, because obviously at the end of the day, like you said, you don't know whether you've succeeded in achieving your goal if you don't have one to begin with. And if you don't know your numbers, then you don't know what you can put into it. So they're really essential to like the core of the strategy, because you need to know where you're trying to go to in order to travel there. But yeah, some things I like to think about, whether you're DIYing your ads or you're outsourcing them, either way, what are your financial goals in your business? So if you have a key revenue goal, even overall, if it's not just from ads specifically, that's fine. Have a think about your financial goals. Have a think about your cost of goods sold as well. So really think about what it costs you to create each of your products. Now, I know they're all going to be a little bit different because the fragrance oils are different prices and that kind of thing, but you can come up with, an average. And how much can you afford to spend on ads? I always like to say have a test and learn budget, which is essentially all of your budget at the start, because you don't know what's going to work yet or not. But then have a think about like what you can reasonably put in as a, potential loss, because ads can be so beneficial and make you so much, but not everything is going to be that like jackpot. Not everything is going to be perfect and work straight away. And that's just the unfortunate reality. But if you go in with a good strategy and your goals and numbers, and you develop that with a professional, or really think about it, well yourself if you're across it, then, you can think about like what you're actually going to put in, what you're actually going to get out of it, and that kind of thing. I'd also think about what your most popular products are and like your highest value. So if you make a lot of profit on one particular product, like if you've got a bundle or something like that, that might be worth pushing. And then just think about your ideal audience as well.
Yes. Always have to come back to who your ideal client is, who your target market is, and what they want from your business, and how you can add value to them, and how you can make their pain points a little less painful, or bring them closer to their pleasure points.
Totally.
Yeah. Can you explain the importance of audience targeting?
So this is one of the key benefits of ads. As much as, more eyeballs on your business is great, being able to have that like level of control over the people you're reaching is so beneficial. So if it's done well, if your targeting's done well, you're going to get in front of the perfect person, your ideal client that's going to buy your products, going to rave about them. You'll know who this is anyway when you think about it. If you've already made sales of your candles, like particularly if you're at markets and that kind of thing, and you've seen these people in person, you can really have a great idea of, what they look like and who they are. On Facebook, you can target based on like demographics, location, that kind of thing. You can also build like lookalike audiences. So if you have a list of all of your purchases, past purchases, then you can upload that and the system can actually find people that look like that, which is crazy. But it does work really well. So it's, super interesting. But you can do things like that, which just gives the system so many more like pointers of who, to serve your ads to. On Google, your targeting's more so based on your keywords. So even though you can, segment by demographic and that kind of thing, typically you'll find that you usually just more so do keyword targeting on Google, or that's how I like to simplify it. But yeah, so those are some of the differences between, say, Meta's ads and Google ads, because it's less of a visual platform. And I suppose the search engine is very different from social media. So the way that they would find the right, or that your target market would be a little bit different as well. Totally. What is your strategy for optimizing ad spend when it comes to someone that doesn't have a lot to spend? They want to get a good return on investment. What is something that, what would be your sort of like, I guess, best strategy in that situation? Yeah, of course. So if you're running Google ads and targeting keywords specifically, one of the best things that you can do is make sure, for starters, when you set up your ads, now this is maybe a little bit complicated, but if people want to re-listen when they're setting their ads up, go after exact match and maybe phrase match keywords. So Google has the ability to, allow you to target different keywords. If you choose broad match or phrase match keywords, it essentially is saying to the system, I want to target this search term, like vanilla scented candle, but you have the scope to go and find something that is semi-related to that, not exactly that. And that's where some of the wasted spend can start to creep in. The system's not too bad, but sometimes with broad match and things like that, it will just go way out of scope and serve your ad to people that are searching something that's possibly irrelevant. So what I would say is really narrow that down. Now, what you can do when you start to launch your ads on Google, you'll actually see a list of not necessarily every single search term that's searched that your ads have appeared for, but you'll see most of them. So if you go into like your insights and your search term report, you can see what people have actually searched for that has made your ads appear, which is really interesting. And from there, you can add negative keywords and just eliminate out any of the irrelevant stuff. So that is just such a, a quick win. I say quick win, like once you get across how to do it, it's easy to dive in and go, oh no, that's totally irrelevant, going to add that, just to make sure that your ads aren't appearing for things that are just wasting your money. I should say on Google as well that Google only charges when someone clicks on your ad. So it's, it's not necessarily going to be that everything your ad is appearing for is a waste, but looking for those really high spend, irrelevant keywords is really important.
And there's still that learning phase for the system and the data to come in, which a lot of people that I've spoken to that haven't done ads before, and I've done like a little bit of research, there's this misconception that I'll put money into my paid advertising and I'll get a return because that's just how it works, right? But no, that you have to put in money to, you have to spend money to make money, but you have to put in the money to get the data, and then you can make more informed decisions about how to structure your ads going forward, not necessarily hitting the jackpot with the first ad that you put up.
Yes, I love that way of wording it.
Yeah,
it's so true. Each platform's a little bit different. They will usually say in the platform whether it's, the campaign's in a learning phase or not. But I would say on average, usually for like a week to 10 days, just set it up. If you set it up correctly, then just leave it and let it learn, let it gather all the data and then go and optimize from there. If you're obsessively checking it all of the time, then, you're going to constantly, like, if you're making changes, you're going to send it back into the learning phase and it's not going to have enough data points to be able to learn and find those right people.
Yes, and then to tell you how to optimize because you're not letting it run its course.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah. How would you explain your process for creating the actual creatives, the actual ad development? Like what sort of images should we use and wording? Like how do we know what to put in an ad if we're ready to take the plunge?
Yeah. So interesting because I guess both platforms are a little bit different. Like I said, Google doesn't have that kind of visual element. So that's, really like focused on Meta, but there's a really good tool that Meta has called Ads Library. And if you just search Meta Ads Library on Google, ironically, you'll find it. And what you can do is they've kind of exposed every advertiser's ads that are currently running. So I don't know everyone's opinions of glasshouse candles, but you could Google on the platform on Ads Library, add in glasshouse candles, search for them, have a look at the ads that they're currently running. And you can do that with other candle businesses, competitors, or you could also do it with just brands that you admire. I would look for product-based businesses because that's, aligned with what, your ads will kind of look like and the structure that you would want. Typically, if you see something that's been running for a long time, so it will say like when the ad was published, that could just be that they've refreshed it. But if you see something that's been running for a while, then you can kind of assume that that's probably going pretty well for them. So what you can do is have a look at the different like creative options that they've got. And then I would just always say use it as inspiration, particularly like the creative and the copy, but go and really find what works for you. I think it's really important, especially for visual ads, to make sure you think about the emotion that you want to convey. And I think that's so key for candles as well. It's often a ritual for people. It's really emotive. It makes them feel a certain way. The scent makes them feel a certain way. So we want to convey that in the imagery. or in the video works really well. So if you have the capacity to do that, I would, recommend, if you can invest in it, setting up a brand shoot. And maybe on that day, you get content of yourself, you get content of your products, and you get imagery and video. Mm-hmm. And then you've got a whole array of creative that you can play with. You can overlay text on, that kind of thing. If you don't have the budget for that, take a little behind the scenes of yourself and, what you do when you're making them, like when you're packaging your orders, that kind of thing. That works really well on socials anyway. It doesn't have to be super polished.
Yeah, that's right. I was just about to say, the content that you get that you can use in your ads, you can also use on your social media. You can then use the same copy, the same text in your email marketing as well. There's ways that you can repurpose your content so that it goes across all the different channels and builds that brand awareness as people come into the different touch points of your business.
Absolutely. And yeah, when it comes to your copy, like you said, you can use it in your emails, that kind of thing. It's the same principles. Like, have a good call to action, get people to take the next step, really speak emotively, get them to feel something, get them to, understand why they need your product. Yeah, pain points, pleasure points, all that kind of thing. Yeah, but just constantly, come up with new ads, review them, and see what works for your particular brand and audience.
Yeah, and have fun with it. I know that it is an investment financially and with your time, but if you can try and enjoy the process of learning and discovering how it all works, it can make the whole journey a lot more enjoyable.
Absolutely. Yeah. You don't want to put so much pressure on yourself. Like, really, at the end of the day, the best way to try and think of it is like an experiment. And just having that fun. But obviously when it's, you're financially tied to it, it can feel a bit, more pressure, can feel a bit harder, but no, it can definitely be fun. And when you find something that works, just go all in on that and scaling that.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, like, there's so many different aspects to business that we can learn and grow from, but you'll learn more about your personal growth journey as well. And when you've got skin in the game, when you've got the financial investment into doing ads or any aspect of your business, theoretically, you should be more inclined to work on your business or work in the business as well. So it really depends on what motivates you in the end.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Have you worked with e-commerce platforms like Shopify to integrate ads with sales? Like, how does that work behind the scenes?
Yes, I love Shopify. Highly recommend. It's great for e-commerce. I know there's other platforms as well that work quite well, but Shopify is really good. So if you're wanting to run shopping ads or product-based ads, then it's so easy to integrate. Shopify have a bunch of different apps on their platforms. If you use it, you'll be familiar with it. But you can dive into their app store and have a look for product feed apps. That sounds really complicated. It's not. If you search for product feed, there'll be different ones. Some of them have trials. Some of them are free and then paid afterwards. Just have a look at the reviews. Usually the reviews will give you a guide of which ones are, worth it, which ones aren't. It's going to depend, on you and your business and what you want to get out of it, I guess. If you've got a lot of products, then you might need something different to someone that doesn't. But generally there'll be a few, 5-star ones in there that you can choose. Mm-hmm. But essentially what it does is it just brings everything that's in your store, as in your whole product set, it integrates it into Google, specifically Google Merchant Center, or it will integrate it into Meta. So it allows you to just automatically have everything pulled into that other platform. And then it means that if you update something on Shopify, your feed gets updated. Usually it's once daily, depending on how you import it. It's a lot easier than you going through and creating a spreadsheet, like a manual product feed. If you've got a few products, you might be able to do it and it might not be too bad. But that means that every time you make a sale, you need to update the product feed, because you don't want things that are sold out to then continue selling if that's not part of your model and that kind of thing. Or if you change, the title of something, then it automatically does it for you. So it makes life a lot easier.
Yes, I think it's worth investigating which are the apps, if you have Shopify, which of the apps will do that automatically for you, because our time is so precious and
Absolutely.
there's less room for error if it's automated as well.
Definitely, yes.
When it comes to, so say you've got an ad that's up and running and you realize you want to edit something in that ad, is it better, in your opinion, to just go and edit the ad or to just start a new ad? Or how do you optimize when you realize that you can include something or take something out to make it a better ad?
Such an interesting question. It's a great question. I guess it depends on what changes you're making specifically, but essentially if you're changing, it can depend on the type of ad you've created, but to not complicate things, if you're wanting to keep the data, which is always a good idea, to refer back to and see what, specifically was working and what didn't, even if, at the time, oh, this didn't work, I'm just going to update it. It's always a good idea to create a new ad, but it also depends on, how much you want to complicate things. Like if you're happy to just change it, it's too much hassle to go through and duplicate something and re-edit it, and then you've got 1,000 ads showing in your, particular ad set and that kind of thing. If, it's in the too hard basket, it's not going to be the end of the world if you just change it. But in order to keep the data, I'd usually say, it's a good idea to make a copy of something and then, go from there.
Yeah. So as we said earlier in the episode, it depends.
Yeah. My common term, which is very it's just not satisfying, is it? But it comes up a lot. It depends.
But it's true. Like there are so many different variables at play. You can't, there's no cookie cutter approach as to this is what you do and then this is the next step. And there's different variables to consider. So that makes sense.
Definitely. Yeah. It always depends.
So I'd love to ask you, how do you define success? And that's not necessarily in advertising, but just in general.
I was having a bit of a think about this one because I think it's an interesting question. I guess I kind of mentioned it before, but I think your past results are your best benchmark metric. Like if you're constantly improving on that, then that's driving you forward anyway. You can think of success as getting to the end point of reaching your goal, but I don't think that that's the only way to define it. And I really love the term 1% better each day. I think that is, it's a really good manageable way of thinking about success and getting to the next point, because we can get so overwhelmed and get so just lose our motivation if we're not getting to that end point. If we've set a crazy goal and it seems so far out of reach, then focusing on that, like being 1% better each day, is just a good way to keep moving forward.
Oh, I love that. And it's so doable as well. Like it's not too overwhelming to think, well, I just need to, do what I did yesterday and then improve a little bit and improve a little bit. And then when you look back over like a week or a month or a year or 5 years, you think, wow, I really have been on this positive trajectory because I've prioritized this growth, but it's only just been a little bit of work each day rather than setting, I'm going to run 5Ks every day and then I'm going to eat healthy every day and I'm not going to watch TV. Like setting these big audacious goals that don't actually align with, what you actually want in a life can, set you on the wrong course. So I love that 1% better each day. Ellen, we've come to one of my favourite parts of the podcast where I ask all my guests 3 questions relating to candles, funnily enough. Question number 1, what is your favourite candle fragrance?
I'd say it depends on the season. I really love like sweeter kind of scents when it's colder. And then I like really fresh things when it's hot, which I feel like is quite, my favorite scents are very basic, but I love a good like coconut and lime and vanilla caramel. So I would say that they're my top picks, but anything that's like a little bit fruity, like I quite like that.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Number 2, what do you love about candles?
I think for me, it's like a really like relaxing bit of a like, ritual kind of thing for me. I used to love like cleaning the house, and then like the final point of cleaning the house, I could clear everything and then I'd light a candle and it's just like resets you. I really like that about them. Like I said, I was very obsessed, like still am, but I was quite obsessed with them when I was at home all the time and like studying and everything. It's just that nice like calming, kind of energy. You walk into the home and it just smells so good. So I love that.
And then the last question is, what is one piece of advice you'd like to give to candle makers during their journey?
I would say remind yourself of why you're doing what you're doing, and don't be afraid to share your story and why you're different. Because I think at the end of the day, people buy from people. And I know a lot of us like to hide behind the scenes and not show ourselves that much and let the product do the talking. But so many people love to see like the person behind the brand. So I think that if it, just you need that little push to put yourself out there a little bit more and share more about you and why you're doing what you're doing and share your message, then people really resonate with that. And with something that's kind of, I guess, spiritual in a way, like candles, people really like want that connection. So I think that that's so important.
Mm-hmm. And as you say, people buy from people, not from businesses as such. So
yeah,
it's so important to work on your personal growth so that that's not a block or a hurdle for you, but that is just part of life's journey, becoming more confident and more consistent in your actions that are inspired and imperfect.
Absolutely. Imperfect action. Yes. I have been trying to embody that a little bit more in business lately. And yeah, it's a good way to think about it.
Yeah. Ellen, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being on the podcast today. I've loved hearing all of your wisdom and knowledge when it comes to paid advertising. And I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to start doing paid ads.
Yay. Awesome. No, thank you
as scary
so much.
as it is, I think this was a really great conversation for everyone to hear and to learn from, even if it's just, dipping your toe in the water as to what paid ads can do for your business, and really just honing in on the fact that it will amplify your current results. So if you're perhaps not having the sales that you would like for your business, work on the reasons why. And then when you start to generate more sales, you can then amplify them with paid ads. So it's not, a fix-all, but it will definitely help your business grow.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Kirsty. I've loved talking about it.
Thanks everyone for listening today. I hope this episode added value to your candle making journey. Check out the show notes for all the links mentioned throughout today's show, and please subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. Thanks again for listening. Have a beautiful day.